Well, knowing Blizzard's development time, I'm not sure if StarCraft 3 will be ready for
That's
my
true.
daughter. So we'll see. Maybe Warcraft 7.
She could play with Artosis Jr. and Mini Wheat and
Yes.
rock all them.
Okay, so anyways, getting into this game, game three in this best of seven series, currently tied at one game apiece. We see vV's Rough spawning as the blue Terran player at the 10 o'clock position. Meanwhile, we have Puck spawning as the light blue or teal Protoss player over here at the what I'll call the 8 o'clock position. And what do you make of these positions? It is not cross spawns, and who do you think has the advantage?
Well, I'll tell you, as a Protoss player, I mean, you don't typically see Siege Tank play or anything, but these positions normally for a Terran, they can take advantage of the fact that the natural of the Protoss really has that cliff that you can, put some Siege Tanks down at the bottom or drop into that very easily. So just the rotational sort of setup here, I would have to give the slight advantage to the Terran player. I think both players, if they make it past that sort of mid-game where you'd see a very deliberate strat like that, it should be pretty even. Both players should be able to split the map quite easily.
Yeah, but I believe the longer the game goes, the more difficult it's going to be for Ruff to say establish a third or a fourth base. You can take a look at Puck. Puck's natural expansion does expand towards his opponent, but his third base and even that fourth base that's really far away is essentially cross map for Ruff. So unless Ref is able to really move around with those units very quickly, he's going to have a difficult time keeping up in the economic game. We'll see if whether or not Ruff is able to deal a lot of damage as we now see Puck going straight across the field and now scouting cross positions first to figure out what is going on.
It'll be interesting to see whether the players choose to play a sort of a macro game. I know one of the standard builds for both players in this matchup is basically go one gate or one Rax expand. We already see that Ruff is working on that barracks and has yet to add a gas, so he's hidden the barracks just a little bit, maybe wanting to convince his opponent it's proxied somewhere. But we'll see who basically blinks first and throws down that Nexus. We've got the Cybernetics core on the way with just one gas from Puck.
Yeah, Puck now will be scouting out his opponent in just a second here. Also, an SCV wandering around, and what exactly is Puck's SCV doing back there? I'm not 100% sure. It looks like it will be trying to build a command center, and it does. Puck's probe does not come over to block it, as the Puck's probe now perhaps going to zap away at the SCV, but the SCV able to slide away across there, and now in comes a Marine. The Marine able to shoo away that pesky probe, and the probe now retreating home, but with valuable scouting information in hand.
And Puck actually doesn't have enough minerals to place down an expansion of his own. Instead, he's going for a second assimilator, so he's going to be running off two gas. He's got this cybernetics core out. He has yet to chrono. Okay, he's churning out probes, so I feel like he will expand here, perhaps delayed a little bit. Still producing just a lot of probes, but he is going to be on these two gas, and Ruff has yet to add a gas. He is adding a second Rax, and he's adding a bunker just to try to defend against any sort of early play, but we'll see what Puck comes out with. He's got enough gas to throw down basically any tech structure at the moment. I think he's going to make it a robotics facility.
All right, Ruff at this point, he does have his three barracks. He should go into double gas right now. There it is. So this is the classic one racks into expansion into triple racks. And then at this point, he really needs to be careful. He hasn't done any scouting yet, and his opponent will definitely have a technological advantage as his opponent is going into double assimilators, and he may try to just one base Colossi. One base Colossi, pretty effective, especially if there are no Vikings to deal with them. And the extended thermal lance range of 9 versus a range of 6 on a Marine inside a bunker, range of 7 on a Marauder.
It'll be interesting. He could possibly get out an immortal or two and go for a bust on the bunkers here. A second bunker going down for Ruff, but immortals make short work of those bunkers, especially if you have some force fields to prevent those SCVs from doing any sort of repairs. But it looks like you were right. The robotics bay is coming, so Puck going for a one gateway into immediately a very fast Colossi build, and he's also expanding as well. So maybe he's getting these Colossi, won't be doing any sort of pressure, but just using them for defense at the moment, expanding at the same time. So he's teching and going econ. Pretty risky, but I feel like it's going to pay off.
All right, what Puck can really do is Puck can try to abuse the ledge over here from Ruff. If he does have those Colossi with extended thermal lance, he can jump, he can walk up and down the ramp pretty easily, get some easy swipes onto those SCVs, and prevent mining. That's really what he needs to do right now. As the harvester count, 30 compared to 28, but there are 2 mules coming in from Ruff, which will definitely help him out in the long run. Ruff still double training up SCVs at this stage, and it looks like he is not going to give up on his macro, now getting a combat shield and stim, and it may be mass Marines once more, but if he masses Marines against Colossi and doesn't have Vikings, that's going to be a very bad story.
Yeah, I feel like he engaged in the last game before there were too many Colossi out. He wasn't taking a lot of damage to his Marines. He was able to get a lot of economic damage done, and that gave him time to get out that huge fleet of Vikings. But Puck is going to have out Colossi just so quickly, and looks like, oh, this might be a mistake, or maybe it is not, as Puck, instead of going for extended thermal lance, is going for the warp prism speed. So unless maybe he's doing a Colossi drop here, we'll see what he comes out with after this Colossi.
Yeah, so it is going to be a Warp Prism, so it is going to be a Warp Prism Colossi play here on Tall Dream Altar. Yes, this is something that I've rarely ever seen,
Nice.
and it really pushes me back to the days of Brood War, where you use shuttles and Reavers. Reavers, very, very effective if you could actually get the Scarab to hit. Very, very difficult, and for some reason, one SCV currently stuck behind a supply depot, and he's just sitting there idle, asking for the supply depot to be lowered. Anyways, we're going to see a group of Marines now spread across the field for a bit of map control. The probe gets the memo and now running away, as we are now also going into the extended thermal lance range. And where is that warp prism? I thought I saw it on the field already.
It's out, but I think that Puck scouted this push coming, and Ruff, nice timing there, is actually going to prevent the harassment, because Puck needs this Colossi to take on all these Marines. The Marines do have stim, so stim against just gateway units would be well in favor of the Terran. As he's stimming in, he's going to try to focus down. I think gateway units now on the Colossi. He might be able to get that stim about to wear off. He is going to get the Colossi, perhaps. No, he does not. That's huge for Puck. Ruff throwing away his entire army, and just the one Colossi down to 10 HP. Puck way ahead.
Yeah, Ruff now transitioning into double starport, and we can see that there was this one prism, warp prism, and that warp prism moves very, very quickly. I never realized how fast a fast-moving warp prism is. A movement speed of 3.38, which is actually faster than a stimmed Marine. So that warp prism is going to be able to get a drop in, but that, I believe, the Colossi down to 10 hit points, and I can't quite tell how many shields it has, but I do believe it is currently recharging as the extended thermal lance range about to be completed.
Yeah, with decent micro, though, I think Puck could take down just a lot of SCVs. He's already ahead as Ruff threw away his entire army, and if Puck is able to get even, 5, 6, 7 SCVs here, it could just be huge. Here comes the Warp Prism, and he's going to try to get basically sort of like a scoot and shoot micro, where he is picking up that Colossi whenever any sort of damage could be coming, and that Warp Prism, you were right, is just so fast.
Yeah, that Warp Prism is so fast. Gonna go ahead and, doesn't pick it up in time, and Puck in trouble there. He did get a lot of damage, getting in 7 worker kills, but it could have been much, much worse.
Yeah, I mean, he could have kept that thing alive forever, but instead just losing sight of it for just a second or not paying attention. And you're right, he could have been so much farther ahead, but Ruff, if Puck gives him an opportunity to get up these Vikings, I feel like Puck's really going to lose this opportunity to take a big advantage here, and Ruff could get back in this one.
Yeah, Ruff now going to instead counter with a drop, perhaps at the main base or at the natural. Both places very, very susceptible to a drop right now, as Puck sitting on a lot of energy on his Nexuses. He needs to start chrono boosting that out as well, as there's a factory watching a Zealot at the Zonaga Tower there, and this drop may be devastating. We'll see what's going to happen. There's a lot of tech hidden off over here, and Puck, if he loses his robotics facility and his robotics bay, instead going to be a drop into the main, or the natural, and in comes all of those just flying Marines. There is a Colossus in there for protection, and it looks like it will just be a quick hit, and then a quick extraction once more.
Yeah, Puck actually doesn't have a lot of units. He's just got the one Colossi, and then about 9 Stalkers, a handful of Zealots, and a Sentry or 3. So, I mean, I think Ruff might win in a straight-up fight, and especially with this drop play, he might actually try to snipe a Colossus here. Puck losing track of that, and as the drop comes here, he will lose this Colossi. Ruff's going to be able to pick up very quickly and basically take almost no damage, trading just a Marauder or two for that Colossi. Definitely worth it for Ruff.
Yeah, we'll see. Vikings are currently still being doubly trained right now, or triply trained, as the production tab shows Marines and level 1 armor upgrades. We should be getting weapons upgrade level 2, as we do have an armory on the field. And as soon as Ruff starts really cranking out more units, I believe the macro of Ruff is going to make it very difficult. But meanwhile, Puck, not too shabby either, already has his third base. His Nexus is up and running, getting 2 additional gateways. Meanwhile, Ruff is only establishing his third base now. Letting the Protoss establish their third is a little bit of a risky maneuver, as the Harvester counts 68 to 47.
Yeah, he's got a huge Harvester lead, so Puck taking advantage here, and they are relatively equal in terms of the units, 124 to 126, but again, Ruff just has way fewer workers, actually creating a bunker in the third of Puck, trying to stop mining for a little bit, so kind of I'm not sure whether that was really worth it economically, losing the SCV and having to cancel that bunker. Ruff actually creating a tech lab on this factory in the center of the screen, so not really sure why he'd be doing that as well, but he's going to own this tower, I suppose, with that factory. That doesn't really do anything. Canceling that as well. A really strange decision here by Ruff, or at least a few of them in a row.
Yeah, right now Puck does have a warp prism here. The warp prism is in the phase mode. It will be able to warp in some stalkers, and then Puck may try to actually elevator in some units and then do a drop of his own. This place is completely wide open, but there are a lot of Vikings, 10 Vikings currently in position, and it should be able to stop anything coming in, as now we currently see the warp prism coming back to perhaps get in a little bit more damage.
And Puck just going for an insane economy at this point. He's got 71 probes. He's got a 4th on the way. His army is just very small compared to Ruff's, and I feel like Ruff has to push out here at some point here, pick a timing to do some damage. There's another drop coming in with Zealots trying to do as much economic damage as possible. Looks like they were able to get about 7 SCVs there, so 15 total SCVs killed by Puck throughout the game. And I think Ruff going to choose this timing here, unload those bunkers, at least he should, and then possibly try to win right here before the Protoss is able to get on that 4th base.
Yeah, Psystorm just being started, level 3 weapons and armor upgrades being started as well. So this is going to be very dangerous. The bunkers have not been salvaged.
Full, yeah.
So that is going to be really bad play here, as the Vikings are going to go hunting for a Colossus. There are a lot of Zealots on the ground, but that means that there is not that many Stalkers on the ground either, as one Colossus may get taken down. Here you go. Here's the engagement. All the units are getting just chopped up here, and without any real splash damage. All of those Zealots are very difficult to deal with. Vikings now landing up on the high ground, but it still has one Colossus to deal with, and this is not a good engagement. Ruff forced to retreat and return home.
Oh, wow. Look at the upgrades for Puck. I hadn't noticed yet, but he is 2-2-2, actually going for shield upgrades as well, and he is just crushing this push by Ruff. Ruff just at 2-1 at the moment. He sort of lost control of those Vikings a little bit, and they went down a little bit too early, landing as another Colossus had come out, and Puck with his econ style, with his upgrades, just crushing Ruff at the moment, and you wonder if Ruff wanted to have those 12 Marines, which are in the bunkers, with that push.
Yeah, this was a rather strange move. You can see that there is another orbital command over here, but the economy, I believe, of Puck is just too much. He is currently getting 400 minerals more, or about 600 minerals more a minute, with a significant 16 harvester advantage, running off of 4 bases, less diminishing returns as the main base about to mine out. It looks like Ruff has also stripped mine out his main base as well. And now this comes into the positioning, how difficult it is for Ruff to try to establish a 4th base.
Wow. We've got a little bit of a proxy nexus going on. Puck showing off that he's got the economy to waste 400 minerals whenever he pleases. I hadn't noticed either. He's got triple forges going. So he's going to have 333 finishing in just a second. I imagine he's going to max out in a second here as well. And then that 333 is going to basically time out for a great push here, which I think should end the game.
Yeah, we are getting 6 additional gateways, but we also see a counter move by Ruff. Ruff going to move in with this rather small attack force, very high DPS. In comes the Marines, and down goes all of these probes. Probes taken down, and we'll see whether or not any units will be warped in. Puck needs to take down the pylons with an attack on the front door. Vikings engaging, Marauders and Marines stimming back, Zealots finishing off those bunkers.
Yeah, and it looks like the Vikings all taken care of. A few Archons there able to take those down immediately. And now Ruff going to do his best to shoot and scoot away from this army, but it's tough to kite away from those Archons with their extended range after several patches ago. And they're just able to do so much splash damage, especially because as you scoot and shoot, your units really tend to clump up. And Puck is just going to town here on the production structures of Ruff. He's got that Warp Prism providing more and more warp ins, and it's going to have to be GG here from Ruff.
Yeah, but I believe Ruff always fights until the last man, pretty much. You can see that there are Stalkers and Sentries finishing off these supply depots here. Zealots and Marauders doing a fight over here, but in comes a Psystorm, and all of those Marines just eat a Psystorm and get taken down. I believe that will be the GG. Beautiful play by Puck, as Puck up to 137 compared to 48 food.
Yeah, and Puck throwing down another Nexus in the natural. And so he's wasted a lot of minerals on the next side there. And taking a very impressive game. Puck looked pretty good in that one.
Yeah, Puck looked really impressive. Also getting into that late game, and where I said that it would be very difficult for Ruff to establish a fourth base, and I think it really showed. I think if Ruff had was somehow able to execute his attack a little bit, just a little bit better, a little bit cleaner, and it didn't look like he had that many medevacs in that first, or in that Marine Viking push, and then those force fields came down and really split up his army.